Welcome viewers to this exciting discussion with our friend and a guide and mentor on meditation on Ram, Bhagwan Ram. Now, for Americans who don't know how to pronounce, it is Ram, like not Ram, it's Ram, and Raam. So you can pronounce that, because there's no diacritics, I can tell you. Now, in this meditation, we are going to discuss about a few things about Ram, and we are also going to publish you something which you can hear at the end of the day, at the end of the video, and you can make a decision. And I really thank you for liking the Narayan Shukta prayers that we published yesterday. So with that, we have His Holiness uh, Bhakti Rasamrita Swami, a very leading saint, a guru, and a preacher. So let us welcome him today on Sattology. Welcome, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami.
Thank you very much, Adi Guru Prabhu. Aditya, thank you.
So His Holiness, so we address him as His Holiness. So His Holiness Maharaj, uh, who is Ram, Bhagwan Ram? Many Americans may not know him. And so who is Bhagwan Ram?
Ram is God. Now, in Vedic philosophy, based on Bhagavad Gita and the various other Vedic literatures like the Puranas and the Upanishads and so on, we understand that the supreme spiritual entity, we may call him God, we may call him anything, the absolute truth, resides in the eternal spiritual realm, which is far beyond this material world. This material world is also part of his creation, but it is, so to speak, a secondary part of the creation. In the primary creation, which is spiritual, as opposed to the material creation, he resides there eternally in innumerable forms. And from time to time, as he declares in the Bhagavad Gita, he descends into this material world. And that is called an avatar. Maybe you've heard this word avatar because now I heard there was a movie recently, some years ago, someone told me,
Yes.
avatar. So Sanskrit words like karma, avatar, they have become part of popular lexicon all over the world. So when the Lord descends into this material world in his self-same spiritual identity and form, then he's called an avatar. He's still God. He's still that same absolute truth, that supreme entity. And he can appear in different species. He can appear amongst the aquatics as a fish, but he's not an ordinary fish, neither is he an extraordinary fish. He remains the Supreme Lord. He can appear amongst the birds, amongst the animals, and amongst the humans. Sometimes he can appear amongst the community of sages and hermits living in the forest. Sometimes he can appear in the human species as a royal prince or a king, as did Krishna or Ram. So Ram is God himself, the Supreme Lord of the Absolute Truth himself, who has appeared in this world for certain purposes that he had to fulfill. So when we hear the word Ram, we should know it is the same as in other people in other religions addressing their Lord as Allah or Jehovah or Yahweh and so on and so forth.
So thank you so much for such a wonderful explanation about Bhagwan Ram. Now, when we address Ram as Bhagwan, so what are the qualities of Bhagwan Ram which really make him called as Bhagwan? What are those things? Because I think for the viewers to know what is Bhagwan itself is a big thing. So what does Bhagwan actually mean?
The word Bhagavan is a Sanskrit word which can be split up into two, Bhaga and Van. Bhaga refers to opulences. Van refers to one who possesses. So the word Bhagavan indicates that person who possesses unlimited opulences in perfection. Now, what are these opulences? For example, there's wealth. It's an opulence. People get attracted to someone who's wealthy. Then someone's very courageous or brave or heroic. So in history, there have been so many such legendary personalities. And we're all attracted to hearing about their exploits and so on.
Yeah.
Then someone's very famous. Then we like to hear about that person. We like to delve into the details of the life of that person. And someone's very intelligent, so we would like to know more about that person. Someone's very beautiful. So someone who's very beautiful is also very attractive to the people at large in this world.
Yeah.
Or if someone is very renounced, even though that person doesn't seek any name or fame because of the quality of renunciation, but the world becomes very attracted to someone who is able to renounce everything in this world. So these are the opulences generally that attract people. But if you see, people in this world can have one of these opulences, perhaps more than one.
Yes.
So someone may be very wealthy but may not be beautiful, may not be intelligent, and certainly may not be renounced. But you may find someone who's wealthy and also beautiful, maybe, and maybe famous. So they may have some of these qualities, one or more of these qualities, usually not all. And even then, these qualities exist only in very minute quantities compared to perfection. Let's look at it like this. Even the wealthiest person on earth, whoever that person may be, may have wealth that may go into billions of dollars, I suppose. So, what is the value of billions of dollars compared to this one tiny planet Earth? That wealthiest person maybe owns a lot of companies that are all over the globe, but he doesn't own all the countries of the globe. He doesn't rule over all the people of this world. So, from the point of view of the opulence of the entire planet, his opulence is very tiny.
Yes.
Even though at an individual level, his opulence may be a lot compared to other individuals.
Yeah.
But in the totality of the opulence of this Earth planet, it is insignificant. And this one planet Earth is just one tiny, tiny planet.
Yes.
And there are millions of such planets.
Yes.
And then there are millions of such universes.
Yeah.
So, and beyond this universe, all these multitude of universes which constitute the material world, there is the unlimited realm of the spiritual world.
Yes.
Now, when we speak of unlimited and perfect opulence, we mean someone who possesses all this.
Right.
That is what it means to be God.
One.
It's not that because someone's a billionaire becomes God. So Ram is God because he possesses these opulences in completeness, in perfection, which nobody else can possess.
Now you explained that word so well, and that word was coined by Parashar Muni, I believe. Parashar
Yes,
is the
yes.
definition. Now, for the viewers, for Bhagwan Ram, there is a lot of historical reference also throughout India. So the place called Ayodhya is so when we meditate on Bhagwan Ram, what are the different ways we can meditate on Ram?
In this, see, we have to meditate on something or someone. Everybody, every single individual in this world has to meditate on something or someone. So usually we like to meditate on the the things that we consider desirable, right? Like money or enjoyment or something like that. And then sometimes we may meditate on people whom we hero worship, movie stars or music stars or whatever it may be. So the idea that we worship, is there. It's standard. So Ram is worshipped uh, because he has unlimited qualities, beautiful, sublime qualities. See, we worship anything in this world, people, etc., because of the wonderful things they do, because of the wonderful qualities they have, right?
Yes.
These
True.
are basically the things
Absolutely.
that we admire people for.
Absolutely.
Someone's very heroic and he does wonderful acts,
All
or
the
because
Hollywood
someone's
stars,
beautiful.
everyone is famous because of that.
Sorry?
All the stars and Hollywood stars, they do one thing,
Yes.
become famous. Like that.
Yes. So therefore, the perfect way to meditate on Ram is to meditate on his qualities, his divine spiritual qualities, on the activities, the transcendental activities that he performed as when he descended to this earth planet. We can also meditate on his beautiful form,
Correct.
his beautiful spiritual form. And above all, we can meditate on his holy name,
Yeah.
which is non different from his form, non different from his qualities and his activities.
So meditation is gradually becoming a part of the American lifestyle. And I see that in next 20, 30 years, meditation will be one of the most important aspects of healing as well in the American society. So, people are looking for objects of meditation, and people are looking for a source of meditation also, because meditating on mundane things doesn't give them the same benefit as some Hindu saints like yourself experience meditating on Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But the meditation objects are lacking in the Western society, and that's why you'll see that Rishikesh is new America in Uttarakhand. And you have more Americans there than local population sometimes in some specific times of the year. So, what is the meditation on Bhagwan Ram which can be used by the American society?
Um, you see, we cannot just meditate on anything or anyone. The word, I mean, in general, I mentioned earlier that people perforce meditate on something or someone all the time.
All the things.
So we can use the word meditation in a very general, everyday sense
Right.
in that context. But when we speak of meditation in a specific sense of spirituality, then we are speaking of meditating on something spiritual.
Spiritual.
So
Right.
naturally, it cannot be something of this world. It
Yeah.
cannot be any ordinary person or any ordinary object or any ordinary phenomenon. It has to be something spiritual. So the first thing that I want to point out is that meditation cannot be just on anything of this world, number
Correct.
one.
Correct.
It has to be something transcendental. It has to go beyond.
Beyond
The
our human
second,
experience. Yeah.
yes, the second um, idea that is prevalent is that you try to meditate on nothing,
Yes, very
which
proud.
is also not possible.
Absolutely not possible.
It is not possible to be thoughtless. Then you end up thinking, oh, I'm thinking of nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So it's not possible to be thoughtless. So neither should we meditate on things of this world, nor try to meditate in vain on nothing. Instead, we should meditate on spiritual forms of the Lord, like Ram, Krishna, Narasimha, etc., who have very kindly advented into this world and who have performed a variety of wonderful, sublime activities here, and who have displayed their qualities, and who have such beautiful names, which when we chant, we can get attracted to them. So that is the reason why we should meditate on the forms, the names, the activities, and the qualities of Ram, Krishna, and so on. So I'm sure the pictures of Ram are easily available now on the net.
Absolutely.
You can look at the beautiful picture of Ram. You can chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which includes the name of Lord Ram. And in this way, you can meditate on Ram. It will be a very, very effective meditation.
Yeah, actually, tomorrow in the US is Ram Navami, and Ram Navami is a great occasion to for some people who want to get connected to Ram because he was born. So, how is the birth of Ram, which can be an object of meditation, is so important for people who want to pursue that path?
Uh, for one thing, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that the birth and the activities of the Lord into this world are not mundane, they're not material, they are transcendental. And Lord Krishna says that one who understands this in truth never has to take birth again in this world. Instead, that person attains to the spiritual world,
Correct.
which is beyond this material world. So, the first aspect of meditating on the birth of Lord Ram is to keep in mind that Lord Ram's birth is not an ordinary birth like ours.
Hmm.
We are born by a certain biological process, and then we stay in our mother's womb for some many months, and then there is a process of labor pain, and then eventually we are born. Now, that is not the process by which the Lord incarnates or appears in this world. His appearance is, strictly speaking, not a birth, it is just an appearance.
Hmm.
For
So,
example, when you see the sun rising early in the morning, uh, for that day, it's the first time you're seeing the sun.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean that the sun is born. The sun was already existing for a long, long, long time before.
yes.
But it's only that today you're seeing it for the first time. So you call it sunrise. Someone may say the sun is being born now. Well, in a sense, it's not wrong because it's born for the day. Similarly, when the sun sets in the evening, then uh, the sun doesn't actually die. The sun merely goes out of our line of sight. And somewhere else there is sunrise. And somewhere else the sun is overhead, and so on. So the so-called birth and the so-called death of the various avatars or incarnations of the Lord could be compared to the rising and the setting of the sun.
True.
So when we meditate on Ram or on Krishna, for example, on any of the incarnations, then we have to keep this in mind. But the beautiful part of incarnations like Ram and Krishna is that they appear so human-like. And therefore, they're more attractive to us and they're more relatable to us.
Hmm.
Now, these are the original forms that they have in the spiritual world in which they appear here. So it's not that they have taken up some special form just to appear in human society. That is exactly their form originally. So they appear human like because they behave like ordinary humans. As children, they cry, then they also eat food. They also grow up and marry, you know. They also discuss so many things with other people. So they have relationships with other people just like we all do. So we should not, therefore, let familiarity breed contempt. We should not think that because they're just acting like us, therefore they're also human beings like us. In fact, their human like behavior is only an aspect that enhances the sweetness of their pastimes. It makes them so much more relishable. So, in this sense, we should meditate on the appearance of Lord Ram.
No, it's a fantastic explanation you gave. And for American Hindus, it's more of a challenging time. And just to tell you that American Hindus are more in number than Indian Hindus, because American Hindus are Americans, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, or from all over the world. So in terms of population, they are a little bit higher than Indian Hindus from South Asia, from India. So it also includes Hindus from Indonesia, Bali, and there are a lot of converts to Hinduism who are picking up Hinduism in a big way. One of them is Julia Roberts. So for them, and I can easily imagine, as many people have told me, that one of the tags which goes against the Sanatan Dharma culture or Hinduism or Krishna consciousness, whatever you call it, that we are idolatrous. That is an accusation being put. So, how meditating on Bhagwan Ram is not idolatrous? That is one. You already partly explained that already. That he descends on his own and he performs some actions, and to remember him, we see an image and we create a murti out of it and do pran pratishtha. So it's a living person, even though in stone, but it's a living person. How do you explain that charge on us to them?
Well, it's a question of understanding things properly from a philosophical point of view. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna clearly explains that the Lord has a form, but it is not a material form. It is a spiritual form. Material forms are limited and they degenerate with time. They degrade with time. They are susceptible to birth, death, old age, disease, etc. But the forms of the different avatars of the Lord, like Ram, Krishna, they are not so susceptible as material forms are. They are ever fresh, ever transcendental, and never subject to the frailties and defects uh, of, uh, of bodies that are made of matter from here. So, when we speak of the form of the Lord as manifested in stone or wood or metal, we call these deities. They are not idols. An idol, there is a difference between an idol and a deity. An idol can be any statue of any person. He may be a politician or a social worker or a military person or anybody, sports person. So that has no spiritual value. But a deity is a very accurate representation of the form of the Lord. Now, this form of the Lord cannot be constructed from a sculptural point of view whimsically. There is a scripture, there are a series of scriptures which describe how the deities of the different divinities have to be constructed, what the proportions of the hands are, the legs, what should be the shape of all the different parts of the body, etc., etc. That's number one. Number two, the Vedic scriptures are full of descriptions of the forms of the Lord. And number three, great devotees in history have themselves, with their own internal spiritual eyes, and because of their evolved spirituality and pure devotion to the Lord, have actually seen the form of the Lord. And they have described these forms in great detail. So, putting all these three together, then these forms are painted or constructed or sculpted out of wood or stone or metal, even jewels perhaps, and so on. So therefore, this is not idolatry, it is deity worship. So the Lord very kindly agrees to manifest himself in material elements to make himself accessible to us and to receive our service.
No, Bhagwan Ram is a extremely popular figure even in the US. Very many American Hindus or Americans also, they tend to go towards Ram in a big way. And one of the qualities and the meditation which people like is him holding a bow and arrow, and that actually gives a lot of strength to some people because he appears as a protector and of many people, and then he wields a weapon. So there are some people, they ask that why is Bhagwan Ram shown with a weapon? If he's Bhagwan, why does he need a weapon? So what is a answer to that?
Well, he doesn't need anything actually because he's self sufficient. But because he is descended as an avatar in the human species on this planet, and he has come for certain specific purposes, which include the establishment of dharma, the establishment of true virtue and religious principles, a true understanding of spirituality, and to see that the world is going on according to certain authorized, shall we say, spiritual values. So he comes to establish that kind of dharma as he declares, Lord Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita. And he also sometimes descends to uh, not only reveal what the dharma is, but in order to protect it by establishing it physically. Now, the kings, in those days there were kings. So the kings or the heads of state were basically supposed to be representatives of God. They were supposed to fulfill the edict of God. So sometimes the Lord appears as a king because it is the duty of a king to establish dharma. There are evil elements who need to be subdued and punished. These evil elements cause pain and misery to innocent people and living entities. So the state must be very strong to subdue the evil elements. And the state must also be very kind and very compassionate to the people and living entities in general. So the king or the head of state must have this combination of qualities to be very strong on one hand to destroy evil, and very kind and compassionate and very loving on the other hand to spread the message of true love and spirituality amongst everybody. So this combination is supposed to exist in a king, in a real king or a head of state. So therefore, many times when the Lord appears as an avatar, he does so in a family, in a royal family.
No, you have put it so well because throughout the history we have seen Krishna, Ram, and we have seen Chanakya creating a king, and all. And you brought up a very important point on and on dharma, establishing dharma, and which you correctly pointed out is a principle of righteousness and justice. One of the things which history points out that India was a very attractive country in the past, just 300 years back before the British came to India. Two virtues were very prominent in India. One was truth and one was justice. It was not because of gold people come here, but the businessmen all over the world knew that India, when you come to India, your trade is protected. There are good courts here. So truth and justice was the important principle of Indian society, for which India was considered a very attractive destination, and which also led to India's rise as an economic power. In 1770, India had 26% of the world trade. 1760, 26% of the world trade, which became now it's around 6% or 7%. So, do you think that those dharmic values went down and therefore the Indian economy is down?
When dharma goes down, everything goes down eventually. It may not happen immediately. Sometimes it may, but not always. Sometimes there will be a time lag. But a downslide is always going to happen, rest assured. Whenever dharma declines, everything good declines and everything bad rises. So it is inevitable that wherever there is a collapse or a decline of dharma, everything that is conducive for the well being of human beings will decline. And economy is such an important part of human society
So
that will also run into so many problems.
throughout the world, we see little bit kind of a crisis, one of crisis after the crisis. And somebody was telling me there is not even a decade lost throughout the inception of recent times that there was not a war. So, and now we have Bhagwan Ram wielding a weapon. So, so is it like the people worshipping Ram can bring back dharma, or meditating on Ram can bring back dharma in our lives or society?
Yes, most certainly. As I mentioned, even though Lord Ram bears the bow and arrow, but that is for punishing those who are causing pain and trouble to innocent people,
Correct.
who are disrupting the peace in society. You see, it's for them. And that is necessary because if that doesn't happen, there will be havoc all over the world.
Absolutely.
So it was necessary to do that. But in fact, that's one of the important reasons why Lord Ram descends into this world. But after that, after he had killed the evil Ravana and many other such demoniac people who were causing a havoc throughout the world, what did he do? He established what is famously known as the Ram Rajya, or the rule of Ram. And it is mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, which is the uh, classic original text of the Ramayana, that in the Ram Rajya, everyone was happy. There was no pestilence and famine, no epidemics, pandemics. There was no untimely death. There was no sorrow. There was no disease. There was no quarrel amongst people. Everyone was satisfied. No one was greedy. So there are all these good, sublime qualities. Even nature supplied everything bountifully, as much as was required. The earth supplied grains and fruits and vegetables profusely. The hills supplied minerals. The rivers and all that supplied so many other. The ocean supplied pearls and other requirements. So everything for a happy, prosperous life was provided. And people were satisfied with what they had. They were not greedy. They were not lascivious. They were not evil by nature. So this is the Ram Rajya. So we should not think of Lord Ram only in terms of his military expeditions, which is an important part of his duty as a king, a dharmic king, but also how he ruled as a dharmic king and established such peace and such love amongst the citizens, a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood amongst the citizens, and how they all loved Ram.
Mhm.
You see, that is something that we also take tremendous inspiration from.
No, you're absolutely right. And in today's time of crisis, people are looking for leadership, and to bring back that example of leadership from the past into our current lives is a fantastic way to change the mindset. And you mentioned a book, Valmiki Ramayana, and the readers whom you don't know, you can buy that on Amazon. You can click on Valmiki and Ramayaana. So you can do that. So listeners, you can view that. You can buy it online. And so, one of the last questions I have before we, this was a very fantastic discussion as always. and I'm sure it's going to get more people watching it and learning about Bhagwan Ram. So one of the things that I have, especially for Americans, is that there is a some kind of a what do you call it, uh, inertia in coming towards anything non-Christian or Judaism or background. It's a primarily a Judeo-Christian country, America. So introducing this concept of Ram, how does it help those people who have not been part of this culture, never heard about him? How can we make it easy so that others can look at the beauty of the character of Bhagwan Ram?
You see, it's very easy because we can reflect on the fact that Ram is not a Hindu.
Right.
Krishna is not a Hindu.
Yes.
He doesn't say, I'm a Hindu. He doesn't say, I'm the God only of the Hindus. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, I am the source of everything, the material world, the spiritual world. I'm the source of human beings, of the animals, the insects, the birds, everything. So the principle of Ram, the idea of Ram as the absolute truth, is not a sectarian principle. Because Hinduism, as we understand it in this way, is a completely sublime and spiritual, shall we say, understanding of life. So when we speak of Ram, we're speaking of something that is of universal application, something that transcends and goes beyond narrow boundaries of what background you come from and what language you speak and so on. Ram is for everyone, you see, because, and the word Ram means the all-pleasing one. So he's pleasing to everyone, not only to the Hindus. The Hindus are fortunate because they have access to Ram more easily right from birth.
Yeah, like you said.
But others everywhere can also take advantage.
Yeah, Ram is Bhagwan for Hindus also, but it can be Bhagwan
Yes.
for anyone else also. That's a
Yes, he's Bhagavan, period.
period.
He's Bhagavan, so he's Bhagavan for everyone. So everyone can accept him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you're from Judeo-Christian background or some Islamic background, but he's Bhagwan for all, not just for
Yes, yes.
So the fantastic point, as usual, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj. Please follow him if you're connected to him, and please join us again for one more discussion. But thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure to have you. And many viewers commented that you have very pleasing personality, and so it's a great honor to have you on Sattology channel. And viewers, keep watching and subscribing to Sattology channel. Hare Krishna, Namaskar, and thank you all.
Hare Krishna.